different. But great question. Thank you very much for that. Niran says, many people say Angelo Matthews never lived up to his true potential. I think he's done extremely well to play 100 tests and average 45 plus, considering his limited technique to short pitch bowling, playing in a weak team, injuries, etc., etc. He's one of the best current Asian batters in England and New Zealand. What do you think of Matthews as a test player?
I've always been a big fan of Angelo Matthews as a test player. I remember him in his early days. He made a 99 in that test match at the CCI in 2009 when he must have been in his early 20s. This is the test that is otherwise remembered for Virender Sehwag making 294 and just missing out on his third triple hundred. We should have made him the first ever to do that, the only guy to do that in men's test cricket. But yeah, he played beautifully on a pretty flattish pitch, but you could see that he was. I mean, Jayawardena and Sangakkara were still at their peak, 2009, but you could already see that at least Sri Lanka's batting is in good hands because Angelo Matthews was coming through the ranks, and he's a lot like Jason Holder in the sense he's always identified as a leader from a young age. I remember doing this big interview with him once during the IPL. And he spoke about that, like being anointed as a leader from right from his school days, and so he played both roles. And his bowling, I think, is what dropped off with time. Right, I thought he was a genuinely good all rounder when he started off. Came off the long run, could bowl quick. He had a sharp bouncer, could move the ball around. But his batting, I wouldn't say his batting improved after his bowling dropped. It's almost like he was a better cricketer, a better batter when he could bowl as well. I think that is, I don't know about the numbers, but just looking at him, he just looked like a more confident cricketer when he could bowl as well. And when he was captain and we could do all three of that. So I think he, in a way, yeah, I mean, I think he's lived up to his true potential. He scored hundreds everywhere. He scored match-winning hundreds overseas as well in England, if I'm not mistaken. The bouncing ball, yeah, has been a bugbear, but it's been the case for a lot of batters from the subcontinent or from anywhere who play with low hands. And we've seen so many
He's
Kiwi
quite
batters
upright
come.
as well when he bats.
He is.
He's not tall because I've stood next to him. I don't think he's even above 6 foot, but he bats like he's taller. And that's almost the worst way to be an Asian batter when you go to the West.
Yeah, exactly. So the weight is always on the front foot. Your hands are slightly lower. So he gets like nicked off a lot, or he has been nicked off a lot in, say, South Africa or Australia. But I think it's a fantastic test career, and he's in the top 5. I think you would put him in the top 5 greatest Sri Lankan batters of all time. Maybe not. Maybe just outside the top 5. Sangakkara, Jayawardena, Arvinder De Silva, and then do you slot Sana Jayasuriya and Dilshan in there?
I don't think they're above him. I just don't think they are. And I think he's batted in a tougher era than... actually, maybe that's not true of Jay Surya, but certainly of Dilshan, he batted in a tougher era.
Yeah.
They've had some good players. Arjuna was a very good player as well, but I'm not sure, his or Roy Dias' record quite stand up. Look, I'd probably go the opposite way, but the only reason is that when he came through, I had him in the big 4, so I had a big 5.
Yeah.
And so I probably... Either I got it wrong, or... I'm the person that has ruined his... Yeah, he said he had a higher potential than everyone else. I don't know. But I never moved up the order enough. I thought he had the ability to do that, but I think he played too much like a number 5 or a number 6 for too much in his career, when I think he should have been a number 3 or a number 4. Maybe that technical issues you were talking about before is the reason why that hasn't happened, which is fair. Bowling, I'm not too worried about, especially because, someone like him at a certain age, especially with his injuries, I think bowling, he was going to have to stop bowling. And he's still handy. He got Nicholas Pooran out in the World Cup with one of the worst balls I've ever seen. So he still can bowl, but it's not, what did he take 4 wickets in a over of a World T20 final? Am I remembering that right? Was it 3 wickets? It was a lot of wickets. I was there for the game. It was at the Oval. But he's certainly not that kind of player. He was also one of the best fielders when he was young and athletic. He was one of the first guys to take the boundary catches where you throw the ball back and all that sort of stuff. He perfected that when really no one else had. So, look, I think for me, I thought he had the ability to join those other... I remember doing, videos with George Dobell, and he was just like, you're mad if you think he's going to become, Root or Smith or Virat, Kane and all those guys. And maybe he was right. But I did think that was his ceiling. And so if that's the case, then he hasn't lived up to his potential for me. But I don't think that means he's a failure. I think he's been a fantastic player, and it's very possible that because he looks so composed at times, that people like me overrated him. Which, and I don't mean that in a bad way, like overrated him as
No.
if he was a dud, but just,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you look at someone who looks so pure with the bat and you bump them up, whereas actually he probably is a number 5, right? And that's probably his peak. That's probably as high as he can go in the batting order.
He is and timing is everything, right? You also see when Virat Kohli and Joe Root and Kane Williamson and even Steve Smith, what part of their career they got to go higher up in the order. Like by the time Sangakkara and Jayawardene were gone, it was already around 2015. So Angelo Matthews had been around for 6 years. You know, his role was changing. He's already captain.
And that's when facing fast bowling becomes really tough as well. So if he's going to go up, then it's going to be tougher anyway, right?
Exactly.
And they probably had better openers around for a lot of that time as well. Although he did have Karuna Ratner at the back part of his career at least. But yeah, look, I think he's a fantastic player. It's just that maybe there was a small percentage of us that overhyped him. It was probably you.
Yeah.